without any further ado, here's Brad.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone. Let me just get settled here real quick. All right, so I'm very honored and grateful for the opportunity today to talk with you guys about a very important topic. It's on mental health. And personally, my own mental health journey, my mental health story is very powerful and has definitely gone through lots of challenges. And I'm grateful to be in the place where I'm at in my life right now because of how much work and sacrifice that I made for myself so that I could succeed and become a better person in general. To give you more insight around my background though, in my youth, I grew up in Bellingham, Washington, Whatcom County area for most of my entire life, in fact. And I just did really well in school. I excelled in school. I ended up graduating from Whatcom Community College with an AA degree back in 2016. But the pinnacle point and a turning point in my life, so to speak, when I was living and studying abroad in Barcelona, Spain, back in 2015 in the fall. And when I came home from studying abroad, I went through a lot of challenges with my mental health. And I returned home feeling very lost, very confused with how the world is working out and where do I fit in the world, and feeling very unsure about how my future is going to unveil itself. So as a result, I had to give myself a lot of grace and tell myself, you can get through this. But I ended up going through more down spirals with my challenges with my mental health until I was eventually hospitalized in the spring of 2016. Now, in this hospitalization, I went through a lot of challenges because being in a psych ward for the first time was very eye-opening, and I had never experienced any type of mental health challenge up until this point. And so having to give myself more understanding about what I went through, I had to really learn how to better challenge my status quo and work on my own recovery, because I ended up being diagnosed with a condition called bipolar disorder. This condition is very hard for a lot of people in this world today, and my perspective about bipolar disorder is when you experience a lot of extreme highs, when you're like really happy and really joyful and really opportunistic and just feeling really great, but then it's also when you go into a deep depression and it's hard to get out of that. And I experience it sometimes every day in a certain way, and how I've been able to give myself more grace to recognize that not every day is going to be a good day, but being able to be opportunistic and thankful for what I have, that's what all counts, and that's what helps me to get better and to give myself more wellness so that I can succeed and make a difference for other people. My goal today is that you'll gain more insight and inspiration on somebody who just didn't quit. Somebody who never gave up on his dreams and goals, and I'm here today because of a blessing of opportunities of what God has done for me and how He is wanting me to succeed and continue to build momentum as I am a professional speaker. The other beautiful thing about what I'm doing currently is that I'm taking classes at Bellingham Technical College where I want to get a Bachelor's of Applied Science in Operations Management. So this is a great degree that I can feel like I can utilize to then continue spreading the message of positivity on mental health. There's many and many, many people in this world who are struggling with their mental health challenges. To give you a perspective, a statistic, according to NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, 1 in 5 adult Americans is living with a mental illness. 1 in 5. That's a lot of people. And another one is, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 50 million adult Americans are living with a mental illness. Now, I don't know how many kids are impacted by mental health, but I know that that's a huge impact as well, because there's a lot of other kids in this world who are going through challenges with their behavioral health, and they need to have support. They need to have people who are in their corner to give them stability so that they can find wellness again and come back to success in their own life. So what inspires me every day as an individual is to just be able to help and inspire other people and give people more light and recognize, I recognize that not everybody cares about this topic. Not everybody understands the topic, but my hope is that I can be a light and to be a representation of a success story to help other people recognize that change is possible, that transformation can be made in people's lives. Imagine living life and being homeless and then moving to becoming, living in a house of your own. Imagine living with your parents and then being able to move out and live more independently. These are two examples of what people are actually doing in this life today who I know about that are actually working on their recovery. And this is a great distinguishing factor of how success is possible for people who have a mental illness or who have a mental health challenges, that they can find success. And my hope is that this presentation will give you more insight in recognizing that you're not alone, that other people are also going through these challenges besides myself, because I could talk about myself all day long, but I'm trying to focus on other people and giving more light on other people. Like I know two other guys who are working on, one was working from being homelessness to situation to then being able to live in a place of their own to call home. And that's what a success story looks like, and giving people more opportunities to succeed, more opportunities to recognize that they're not alone. Look at the movie Wicked, for example, the newest movie, that Wicked by Universal Pictures that just came out recently. That's a perfect example of how stigma is involved in our communities today. And so, for example, from the depiction of the Wicked movie, how she was stigmatized because her skin was green, the Wicked Witch. But then look at mental health. Look at how people in this world are stigmatized because of mental health. And think about that from that standpoint. The connection is very real. Besides, the only difference is you can't really tell if somebody's mentally ill based on their skin color. You can tell that they're mentally ill or have challenges with their mental health because of their behaviors and how they're interacting with other people. Sometimes that's the biggest way to gain perspective. So in today's topic presentation, I want to talk about 5 different components today. And these are hospitalizations, halfway house, mental health treatment program, homelessness and homelessness recovery, and return to work phase. Each perspective has given me more grace. It's given me more, they're part of my story, and that they're part of what has helped me get to a better place. Starting with the hospitalizations, I've probably been through 3 or 4 major hospitalizations in my lifetime, and each hospitalization was from different challenges. And so, but here's the thing, is that I'm able to stand here today because I didn't give up, because I didn't quit on my dream of being able to make a difference in the lives of other people, and recognizing that things aren't just going to come overnight. It's not just going to come in a very quick and easy way. I've had to sacrifice so much in my life to get to a better place. And now that I'm in a much more stable and grounded place, I can then transmit my ideas to you all today and give you all hope, and seeing that somebody who has been diagnosed with the condition, bipolar disorder, can then succeed again. And so the hospitalizations, each hospitalization, I went through these challenges. It's been about over 2 years since I've been into a hospitalization process, so I'm definitely well into my own perspective as being a growth-minded person. The hospitalizations are different for different types of scenarios, but overall, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because some people need to have that sort of structure and that sort of grace for themselves. And so hopefully that you can see that other people, it just depends on the person. It depends on what their needs are, what's the level of severity of their condition, and how they're able to work on themselves. the halfway house is another great example about a challenging part of my story, and it was very hard to deal with because I experienced as a 20-year-old back in 2017 in the summertime. I was discharged from the hospital, and I went to living in a halfway house, or a outpatient mental health treatment facility called Agate Heights Facility. It's located in Bellingham, Washington, and it's sponsored through Lake Whatcom Center. And this experience for me was very hard because I felt like I was neglected, I felt like I was abandoned, I felt alone and lonely at the same time. And so all these challenges have defined my story, and they've given me more perspective to help myself grow, to help myself find the positive light for myself to thrive again. And I haven't given up on myself because I feel like that there's a lot of other people that can relate to some of the ideas that I have to say. And so in this facility, I learned how to better cope with my challenges. I learned how to better be more opportunistic about the future and give myself grace and tell myself you can succeed again and that failure is not an option. So as a result, I was living in the halfway house, and then I had a great, beautiful opportunity to go to living in a mental health treatment facility. It's a program, a 90-day program, where I ended up living there, and it was a successful experience for me because what it did is it gave me more hope to seeing that a lot of other people in this world who are struggling with their mental health condition but can succeed again. And that's the hope, is that I totally recognize that you might be wondering, well, how do you get a mass amount of people to change their life? This is how you do it. You take it one speech, one step, one smile, one handshake at a time, and that's how you start to change lives. And so that's kind of where I feel inspired, because I feel called by God to make a difference in the lives of the mental health community. And I don't feel alone in this opportunity because I feel like there's so many other people who can gravitate to what I have to say. And even though there's a lot of opposition and there's a lot of people who don't agree with that, in general, it can totally help change lives. And I firmly believe that. So the halfway house was another perfect test about like how to be resilient and how to work on coping mechanisms when it felt so uncomfortable, when it was so unbearable to be there. But the mental health treatment program was a totally different perspective, because even though at the time I was still in a state of denial about my condition. So imagine being a 19-year-old being diagnosed with a bipolar disorder diagnosis. You're not going to just accept it right away. And I didn't just accept it right away. I had a lot of my own journey that I had to continue to walk through, and making mistakes over and over again until I got it right, until I gave myself more perspective that change is possible. So as a result, the mental health treatment program was very transformative. And so an example about what we talked about is like reality testing with another person in your life. What that means is when you're reality testing with somebody, you're saying to them, hey, I just wanted to see about possibly working on getting this job or getting this degree program. Do you think that's a good idea? And do you think I can handle the pressure that's involved with that? Oh yeah, Brandon, I think you can do that. Or Brandon, I think that your perspective might be a little bit off, and you need to focus on giving yourself another perspective, another idea. That's an example of reality testing, and that's what I learned at the mental health treatment program about a specific example. And there's so many other ways of like cognitive DBT, diabolical behavioral therapy, where we got together in group settings, and there was a main leader of the teacher and the instructor, and they were giving us different therapeutic ways about talking about our emotions, talking about ways how we've been able to work on ourselves and what are better and healthier ways to cope than drugs, alcohol, sex, stuff like that. So that's the mental health treatment program, and what has definitely have come about with that. And so definitely seeing the transformation of what that did for me is the program itself gave me more hope and gave me the tools, the right proper tools to better succeed in my own life. And then the homelessness and homelessness recovery. I'm going to preface this because I used to live in Seattle, Washington, and then I moved, this was several years back. I lived in Seattle, Washington for about 10 months, and then I decided to be ambitious, and I moved to Long Beach, California for over 2 years. So I definitely have a lot of real life experience of being out in the open and being out with other people and recognizing other people's limitations and seeing how people go through their life and other ways of living than here in just here in Whatcom County. It was a blessing to be able to do that and to be able to afford it and work on the challenges. But then what happened was I returned back to Bellingham because I wasn't getting a job. I was struggling to find a job. My mindset was starting to get into a bad place, even though I felt very high manic wise, and I felt like I was just like in a rush because I was living in Long Beach for over 2 years to then moving back to Bellingham. And when I moved back to Bellingham, I ended up becoming homeless for about a month period of time, and this was a hard experience. But why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people who are homeless also have mental health challenges, and so where's the question is, where's room for people who have had challenges with their mental health or who are homeless, and how can they succeed? My perspective is that you have to be able to give people motives so that they can change for themselves. In other words, you can't just change somebody and tell them to change. You have to be able to give another person inspiration and hope and make them change themselves. And the hard work that I've done on myself, this has come from years of practice, years of going through challenges. And so as a result, I've been able to give myself more optimism about how I can better approach my life, and giving myself more grace when I don't meet my quotas. But God has definitely opened up so many different doors of opportunities in the recent past now, because I feel like I'm making a difference and trying to make a help and helping other people, whether they know a little bit or a lot about mental health. So the last point I'll mention is return to work phase. So I've worked at many different jobs in California, Seattle, and Bellingham as well. And so each of these experiences, the only downside about what I've done is that I've been very gone through different challenges with my work situation, and just many part-time jobs or full-time jobs that didn't pan out because of part of my, it just didn't pan out for some reason. But as a result, I'm now currently working 6 months in with a very solid employer called the Whatcom Clubhouse. And at the Whatcom Clubhouse, we help a lot of people who have mental illness, who have challenges with their mental health. And so I feel very honored by the opportunity to help these other folks who have a mental health challenge as well, and giving them more perspective as well as discipline so that they can succeed. Because you can't just tell people, go and change yourself. They have to be able to take that idea and apply it in their own way and put in the effort. And that's kind of where I've been able to do that successfully. I've also written a book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. I'll have them here in the corner here. And so I've been able to do a lot with my time, and I don't like to just be complacent. And I've always been a very driven person to help other people and helping and making transformation process. So before I wrap up this speech, I wanted to ask you all to take a quick 2-minute survey, and it's up on the screen. Lynn's,
it will be.
It will be. Lynn's going to take care of that, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah, just scan the QR code, and it's a 2-minute survey.
going to send daily emails to me.
Nope, it won't. Nope, it won't do that. Unless you want to connect with me to talk about another speaking opportunity, that's the only, that's how I would use it. All right, I'm going to wrap up the speech, and then we can open up for Q&A.
Go for it.
So in today's presentation, we covered 5 different components, and each of them have been part of my mental health journey. We talked about hospitalizations, halfway house, mental health treatment program, homelessness and homelessness recovery, and return to work phase. So my hope is that this has given you more insight to seeing that change is possible for other people who have a condition, and that you don't need to find yourself falling victimhood to your circumstances. And yeah, I just hope that this has given you more insight into recognizing that you're not alone, and that there's other people who are struggling out there in this world with mental health, but there's a lot of services now that are popping up, and it is becoming more accepted in our community, in our society, for people to accept themselves with having a mental health condition. So my hope is that this will give you more grace and give you more of a success story, and seeing how God has worked in my life tremendously as well, to be at the center of my life, to being able to help me succeed and help me to build more momentum in my life. Thank you. We can open up. Yes, question.
Why do we seem to be experiencing in our communities more issues involving mental health, or maybe problems that we've had in the past?
I think it involves with stigma. So if you're not accepted, or if you don't feel like for example, a lot of people in the workplace, in the general workplace environment, don't feel comfortable seeing a therapist because they are, because it's just stigmatized around mental health. And so seeing a therapist is stigmatized, and so that they don't, and it's very kind of like, it's very subdued, and it's not accepted well. And so because of that, a lot of people suffer in silence.
I know you read a lot of comments in today's reporting and news articles that as far as revolving around the school populations and everything.
Yes.
Attributed to the COVID and the idea of some kids going to school, some kids not going to school, the stresses and the challenges that some kids face by not being able to socialize with their other classmates because they're stuck at home, and
right.
That type of thing.
That can cause a lot of challenges because it's so affecting the kids socially as well, because you're isolating from the rest of your other kids in regular school. So that's where it's like it's up to the parents to be responsible for their kid and being able to make wise decisions with their mental health professionals as well, because they're probably a huge source of support to give the kid recommendations on how they can get better. And recognizing that even though you're a kid, when you're going through challenges, you can still find balance again. Like my sister, for example, she had some behavioral health problems in her youth, but she's gotten better, and now she's much more stable as an adult, and she hasn't gone through these challenges when she was actually a kid. So, yes.
You mentioned the mental health treatment center that was very influential for you.
Yes, Skyline Trail.
Is that a government sponsored?
It's a private.
Is it private?
It's private.
And is that something that, as a family, or you personally had to pay for?
Yes, so it was insurance partly covered, but I also was under my dad's insurance, so.
Yeah, so that isn't available to everyone.
It's not, no, but it definitely can help a lot of people, and there's more fundraising that's being involved.
Okay, and the other thing is you mentioned motive being a very key item to health. How do you install that? And I'm familiar with individuals that deal with bipolar, and I know that the parents have, he's of age, so they can't force anything on him. Mm-hmm. If you're over 21, you can't involve yourself in all their activities.
Right.
You can try to assist them, but that person can say no, or can agree to go to some facility but then not go. How do you install that motive in an individual to want to change? To me, it would be the key to any of this, because
I would say just the fact that somebody like myself who's also gone through what they're going through, it gives them more empathy, and it gives them more grace to try and look at their life from another lens and seeing how they can actually become successful when they've seen somebody like myself who can, maybe I give them a talk to an organization, and this person comes up to me after saying, hey, this has helped me, giving me more.
You're not going to see these people at a Kiwanis group.
Right. Right.
What do you mean?
Yeah, we wondered about
Well, we kept a thumb on you there. You know what I'm saying? They're in places where you're not going to find them unless you go search them out. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, that's my issue with. You almost have to be a counselor to go and visit these individuals. Even the people at the homeless, a lot of them don't want to do anything.
Right, I know. Yeah. Yes, Lynn.
We done? No, I don't have an answer, but I get it.
Well, to come to a realization that you need to change. I think that's what you'd expressed. Was there a specific incident, situation, occurrence that caused you to really dig down and look at yourself and say, I need to change?
I think my faith in God has been a huge source of support as of lately, and because all these opportunities that are coming my way, they haven't just come, they've come from years of sacrifice and years of hard work. And so having God in my life, in my heart, I find myself being more at peace. And but then I'm also super proud of myself because I've been able to get through learning how to better cope with my own condition, and so that way I can be more successful in a broader way.
I think the other thing that strikes me of interest was nobody really discusses the impact on the family.
Yes, and that's where a lot of families are impacted, and they have support groups for family members to come to so that they can learn how to better support their children or family. Yes?
I was joking when I said I had mental illness. I am a recovering alcoholic.
Okay.
And and that's mental illness in itself. The thing that helps me the most is that I'm part of a AA group, a group of other people who can identify with how we're thinking. And so, and then your role is reversed. Like all of a sudden, they're helping you, and you're starting to help somebody else.
Yes.
And so those are all things that are important,
Mm-hmm.
Motivating.
and then not being so bugged by the stigma that's attached to it.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think is most important.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
My middle son is almost 13 and struggles with depression, and we've been through a pretty significant mental health journey with him.
Oh, wow.
And he's doing really great, but the reality is that the resources aren't there, even though we're a middle-class family with insurance. It's difficult to find a provider with an opening who takes your insurance and doesn't have a wait list that's 6 months long.
Yeah.
So my husband and I, through this whole thing, I was curious what you felt like your parents, how did they support you in the best way possible? Because we bounced back and forth between making him participate in family activities or just letting him stay home because he kind of ruins it for everyone else. Is just being there enough, or was there a specific thing that they did?
Honestly, the transformative experience was the mental health treatment program that I attended. It's called Skyline Trail in Atlanta, Georgia, and it definitely opened my eyes more to seeing about the realness of how people can be successful with a diagnosis. And so going to different programs, if your kid is going through a challenging time, that might be something to look into. And then obviously the program can connect with you about insurance questions and stuff like that. But that just was a huge source of support, better than the halfway house that I went through. That experience was traumatizing for me. But the transformation between like going through private programs are so helpful, and that's why they cost money usually. So, but that would be my best perspective. And also, if you want to get involved with NAMI, Whatcom County, they're in Bellingham, and they have tons of classes and support groups for families to come together and learn from each other about how to better serve their children and family members. So that would be another perspective to think about.
Did you find yourself reaching out to your parents during your journey, though, or did you feel like the outside health professionals were the ones that ultimately helped you kind of turn a corner?
Good question. I think it's a mixture of the both. So being able to having my family support that was supportive and trying to make me well again, but then I also had to learn for myself. And it wasn't until I started to take disciplinary action for my behaviors and start to change them, and that's when things started to get better, because I started to be more disciplined on how I'm living my life. So thank you. All right, we can wrap up. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
I just have one compliment, and that's to compliment you.
Thank you.
I couldn't get the code to work on my phone, but the program that you just gave, to stand up there, talk like that with no notes, I mean, you're obviously a motivational speaker that walks the talk and talks the walk.
Thank you.
As far as and I think you're to be complimented that you did one H of a job.
Thank you very much.